Hello, everybody, and welcome to our overview of what to expect for Missouri Memory Day coming up in a couple of weeks on February 11th, 2025. So today we're going to we're going to start with some welcome and staff introductions. Rachel and I will introduce ourselves for those of you who do not know us, and then we'll go over some logistic planning for Memory Day, a little bit of what to expect. We'll talk about the policy priorities we will be focusing on, as well as some tips and tricks on how to have a successful meeting with your legislators. And we'll also kind of talk about what you can do beyond our Advocacy Day and why advocacy is so important. But starting with who we are, my name is Catherine Rail. I'm the Director of State Affairs for the Greater Missouri chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. I've been here for almost 3 years now, and I am very excited to see all of you in Jefferson City in a couple of weeks.
And I am Rachel Lisinski, the Advocacy Manager. I have been with the association as a staff member since about end of July, but I've been a volunteer on the advocacy team since 2018. So I'm very happy to be helping you guys get ready for Memory Day this year. It's going to be a good time.
So starting off with who we are as an organization, for those of you who may be very new to what we do. So the Alzheimer's Association, we are really aiming to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementias by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction, early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. And another logo that you're probably going to see quite a bit throughout this event is the AIM logo for Alzheimer's Impact Movement. And that is the public policy sister organization to the Alzheimer's Association that's really been able to help advance and drive our public policy efforts. So, and I'm going to send it over to Rachel to talk about what to expect for the event.
Yes, I have been working with Catherine and working with volunteers to get an event overview ready for Memory Day, and we have a really awesome day of programming planned. So our day in Jeff City kicks off at 9 a.m. with a check-in and a welcome presentation and a little bit of discussion at 9 at the governor's office building. I have the address for that on our registration page, and I can send you a save the date with all of that information on it as well. We are going to have training and education presentations starting at 9:15, so you have some time to get settled and make sure your names are checked in and grab a table. And then from 10:15, those presentations will go till 10:15, and then from 10:15 to 10:45, we are going to be traveling from the governor's office building to the Capitol. We will have buses. We will have our bus available to ferry people from the governor's office building to the Capitol. But if you want to walk and you're willing and able, we can do that as well. If you have any accessibility concerns or you need specific accommodations, please reach out to me and let me know. I am trying to get a good handle on what needs we have from our volunteers. So please be in touch with me individually if you have any concerns. We are going to have, once we get to the Capitol building, we're going to have legislative meetings from 10:45 to 1:45. Those are going to be all over the building. We will make sure that you have a plan and a program and a good idea of what to expect for later in the day that morning. So that is the meat of our day, is the legislative meetings. We do have a lunch offering from 11:45 to 1:30. Those are going to be boxed lunches provided by the restaurant in the Capitol. So if you have any dietary restrictions, please be in touch with that. And also please be mindful that dietary restrictions are separate from preferences. Dietary restrictions are if you're gluten-free, if you're vegetarian or vegan, or if you have specific food allergies, please let me know. I can't always accommodate specific preferences about what kind of meat is in the sandwiches or what kind of meal generally we are provided. We really only have a few options. So if you have dietary restrictions or medical specifications that need to be documented for food, please let me know. And then we end our programming at 2:00 with our closing ceremony. We're going to have some speeches, and there will be a flower ceremony if you're familiar with flower ceremonies from our walks. and that'll be in the first floor rotunda. And then we're going to try to be leaving the Capitol around 2:30. The bus back to St. Louis should be on the road around 3 p.m. So that is generally the plan for the day. In planning, please plan more than enough time for transportation and parking. That can lead us to our next slide, Catherine. Yes, our transportation from St. Louis will be from the Galleria. We're using the Galleria as our meeting spot and pickup and drop off area. As you can see, the parking lot that we are going to be staging our pickup and drop off, and where you guys, if you're in St. Louis, you can leave your cars, will be right off of the 6440 off ramp in Brentwood. If you need more specific directions or this map is not that helpful, please give me a call. And we can make sure you know exactly where you're headed. But that little corner of the back parking lot near 6440 is where we're going to be grouping. So please be in touch. And if you have indicated that you no longer will be taking the bus, please reach out to me specifically. I don't always get the little notifications from the registration. So if any transportation expectations have changed, if you need to go on the bus and that wasn't originally planned, or if you marked that you were going on the bus and that plan has gone through and you're not going to be on the bus, you have a very limited seating and we want to have a pretty good head count before we get on the bus. So please be in touch about transportation needs and whether or not you're going to be using our bus from St. Louis. Next slide. Catherine,
Right.
Waste Jeff City parking.
So parking is going to look much different this year than it has in previous years. People who have attended the last couple of years probably are familiar with the parking garage on Madison Street. That has actually a couple weeks ago moved to primarily permit parking only and is no longer really a reliable option, unfortunately. So that leaves a couple parking options. That leaves street parking, which is metered. There around the Capitol building, there is some parking available. It is a 3-hour limited time parking though. If that option does work for you, some people are sometimes able to kind of run out at that 3-hour mark, move their car. But like I said, it is limited and it has that 3-hour time limit. The primary location where parking is going to be available is down the hill from the Capitol building. As we can kind of see on this map, it's going to be primarily where the pink parking lots are. So it is kind of down the hill a little ways. So it's a little bit of a walk. In terms of if you have mobility concerns in walking around Jefferson City, it is a very hilly area. Our best suggestion is to try and drive with somebody who is able to drop you off either at the governor's office building at that front door, and then go park the car. Unfortunately, this was a last minute change. But we will be ending from the Capitol building, which is going to be much closer to the parking lots. This is one reason we say to wear comfortable walking shoes. Again, it is, it's a little bit of a distance. It's not too far, but there are a lot of hills in the area. If you do have significant mobility concerns, please reach out to Rachel or I, and we can try and get them figured out. But those pink parking lots are most likely going to be the best options for a lot of people. That being said, there are handicap spots around the Capitol building that may be available as well if you do have handicap parking.
I would also like to do a little blurb about wardrobe expectations, just because of the comfy shoe recommendation. We are we are expecting everyone to plan for business casual kind of attire. Expect to be in office meetings with legislators. So come ready to look professional, to sit comfortably, to walk quite a bit. This is going to be a very, very active walking day. So wear something comfortable that you feel confident in. And if you have questions or concerns about what you should wear or what you should or should not bring with you, please let me know and I can clarify expectations.
Also, we will throw out that we will have purple sashes for everybody. So it'd be awesome to see everyone in their purple, but if you don't have any, don't worry about it. We will have plenty purple things for everyone once you get there. So next to kind of start talking about, give a little overview on our policy priorities that we will be talking about. So we have 3 asks here. 2 of them are very similar to what we asked legislators for last year. But the key thing I really want to highlight here is that you don't need to be an expert on every ask. You guys are volunteers and your advocates and legislators know that you don't necessarily may not know all of the ins and outs of the policy side. So it is perfectly okay to, if they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to just say, I'm not sure, but I can connect you with Catherine Rail, who works at the Alzheimer's Association here in Missouri. It's much better to follow up with them than to give a incorrect or wrong answer. So our first ask that we'll be talking about is the Dementia Service Coordinator. So this was a recommendation from the Alzheimer's State Plan published in beginning of 2023. And the very high level of it is the position would be aiming and focused on creating a more coordinated statewide response to Alzheimer's and dementia in Missouri. So a couple of the responsibilities that this could include, definitely not limited to though, are identifying gaps in Alzheimer's and dementia services and programs and making sure that the ones that do exist are being utilized to their full extent and in the best way possible. Recommending strategies and policies to better serve Missourians living with dementia. So that kind of goes along with identifying the existing gaps, as well as increasing awareness of and facilitating access to quality coordinated care for people living with dementia. Also, this position has been established in more than 29 states and Washington, D.C. So this is a nationwide push that we have been working on across the association. So currently, we do have a Senate bill that has been sponsored by Senator Travis Fitzwater. And so, we are also pursuing getting the position established in the Missouri state budget. So that's going to be the primary focus through session, but the budget process is kind of really gets going a little bit more into February. And so we want to kind of draw attention to the Senate bill as of right now to really show that there's legislators see a need for it and kind of really point to what it could do. So this would create the position in the Department of Health and Senior Services, specifically the Division of Senior and Disability Services. So we'll have more information closer to Memory Day as well, but that is where it currently stands. So the next ask and priority is to reestablish the Alzheimer's State Plan Task Force. So as I mentioned before, there was a state plan published in January 1st of 2023. But to continue making changes and providing updates to that state plan on an annual basis, we need to have a fully appointed task force. Currently, the wording in the legislation that is establishing the task force has a couple challenges in keeping it appointed. It's created a very burdensome process that is not in line with how other task forces of a similar nature are appointed, which means while they've been able to continue meeting as a work group, they have not been able to meet in an official capacity. And so what this bill would do is it would allow us to address those challenges in the language of the current statute, and it would also extend the 2027 expiration date through 2032, which would give us another 5-year state plan cycle. So the ask for that is to please support the reestablishment of the Alzheimer's State Plan Task Force. We do not have a bill number as of right now. It is currently getting drafted. So by February 11th, by Memory Day, we should have a bill number and sponsor to share with you guys to specifically ask legislators to support. And so our last priority, last but not least, is dementia training for guardians. So as we are all aware, dementia can have a very profound impact on someone's ability to make decisions related to their health, finances, and a number of other things. And this, in some situations, may lead to the person living with dementia to require the assistance of a guardian or conservator. So what we are asking for is we are asking lawmakers to require guardians who are serving people living with dementia to have dementia-specific training. So we are in the very early stages of this process. There's a couple different avenues and strategies that we're pursuing to try and get this ask included. But so as of right now, we'd just be asking to legislators to please support the inclusion of dementia-specific training for court-appointed guardians of people living with dementia. But we will have more specific details in terms of bill numbers and how we're going to go about doing that come Memory Day in a couple of weeks. So, and then I will send it back to Rachel to talk about some tips and tricks for meeting with your legislators.
Yes, we are going to prepare you both with policy information and on storytelling and meeting information. The first bit of information that I would like to put on is the who, why, what, how, and the now what. This is how we're going to structure our meeting plans. So if you could go to the first. The who is introducing yourself. You are the constituent in the room, telling anyone who's in the room with you who you are, what district you're from, a brief explanation on your connection to the Alzheimer's community, whether you are someone living with the disease, a caregiver, if you've lost someone, just a quick blurb on how to connect yourself to the meeting that you're in and the organization, the Alzheimer's Association that you are representing. So introducing yourself is a really good way to start. The why is our bread and butter. The personal connection to Alzheimer's is what is important. Tell your story. Practice telling your story. If you want to call me, we can talk through your story and get it crafted in a way that you feel confident about. But it's all telling your personal story about why Alzheimer's is important to you and connecting it to our policy priorities. And if you need support on that or just want to go through it with me, please give me a call. Telling the story of self. Oh, Catherine, you were right. No, you're good. Telling the story of self is really about grabbing attention and making yourself a memorable storyteller. So painting a picture of what it's like to live with dementia, what it's like to be a caregiver, sharing a photo with a loved one is a very, very powerful way to humanize the people that we're talking about. And then sharing your struggles. Give specific information about things that you have dealt with. Give specifics about how hard it was. What are the emotional parts? How did it make you feel? Those are the things people, the staffers and the legislators themselves remember after these meetings. They have the handouts with the statistics, but they remember the feelings. And tie your story to a legislative ask. Lots of these programs that we're talking about will directly impact constituents. And so being able to speak to the potential that they have for you or connecting what is currently changing to how it could have made a difference in your experience will be a very meaningful way to frame your story. And again, if you want some support on that, please let me know. Next slide. The why. So this is a very important slide. We have to be agile. This is the point in the presentation where I have to make sure that you all volunteers are aware that things will change. You never know what's going to go on in these meetings. You could have 15 minutes with the legislator themselves, and that is the best case scenario. And sometimes people will walk by the hallway that you're in, and that will be the entire interaction. So be prepared to have things change day of. Be prepared to meet with not necessarily the constituent or the legislators that you are a constituent of. We are doing as much coordinating as we can to get people in the right meetings with their respective elected officials, but sometimes that just doesn't work out, and you have to be agile and willing to work with who's around you. So practice different iterations of your story. Do a little elevator speech on how to quickly get to the point on things. But have different variations. You can have a very long-winded story that gives a lot of detail, and those are good for different kinds of meetings. And you can have a quick blurb about introducing yourself and getting to the ask quicker. So it's all about making sure people understand why they should care about Alzheimer's and dementia. So be prepared for things to change, be prepared to have different kinds of interactions of different lengths, and prepare to be agile. We will prepare you for any changes that happen, and please stay in touch if there are any concerns. Thank you guys for everything in advance. Next one, the what. This is the leave behind materials most of the time. The asks and key policy priorities for the meeting are the big headliners. So connecting your story to a specific policy ask, introducing a bill number would make it even go further, and leaving behind the correct folder with the correct materials that we will provide for you guys. So just so you guys know, there will be folders for volunteer participants with all the information you guys will need about meetings and all of your plans. And then we will have different folders for leaving behind with legislators. And those are going to have the statistics and policy information that we don't expect you guys to keep track of. So they will have it already. So the delivering the policy asks and the leave behind materials is the what of these meetings. Priority number one, Catherine, are you taking this away?
Yeah. So when you are talking about that what after your why, this is kind of the example of the phrasing that you can use. Also, I just want to reiterate and highlight again that the most important thing you can talk about in these meetings are your stories. That is what really leaves the impact with the legislators. And so the what, well, you definitely want to make sure to include the ask. If you don't need to worry about hitting on all of the bullet points of our policy priorities. That is something we can make sure to follow up with. But so for that what, kind of circling back around for priority number one, the Dementia Service Coordinator, you would ask them to please support Senate Bill 410, which creates a statewide Dementia Service Coordinator position, and support the position's inclusion in the budget. And again, for priority number two, once we have a bill number, we'll get that included in this statement, but you would ask, please support the reestablishment of the Alzheimer's State Plan Task Force. And for number three, again, we'll be able to include the more specific information in the statement for Memory Day, but we would ask legislators to please support the inclusion of dementia training for court-appointed guardians of people living with dementia.
The closing. The closing of the meeting is really about who you are as a person. It's bringing your personality to asking your legislators to support the cause. So it's about showing up authentically, and whatever emotions came up during that meeting, which is expected and okay, we'll set the tone for the closing. So we share some heavy stories. We talk about heavy topics. We share sometimes not the most encouraging statistics. So thanking them for their time, understanding that it might not be the most optimistic note we're ending on. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes people are really jazzed to talk about Alzheimer's, and sometimes not. So be prepared for a wide array of receptions after these meetings, and ask if either the staff is willing to connect and get support from their respective legislator, or ask the legislator themselves if they can support the issue and the best way to follow up with their office. Likely it will be with their staff, and we already have their information, but it does not hurt to ask. And if you don't know something, that is not a problem. We do not expect you to be policy expert. That is not why you guys are here. The most useful response that you can put in your back pocket and hold on to in any situation, but especially on a Memory Day situation, is, "That's a great question. I will follow up with an Alzheimer's Association team member who can provide you with more information." You are welcome to plug Catherine, because she is the one that is making appearances in Jeff City more often, so they might be familiar with her name. But yes, please don't ever answer questions that you don't know or feel unprepared about. That's not a problem. And in closing, always ask to take a photo. It looks really great for their constituent engagement to tag them in our photos. They're excited about it. We are excited about it. And it's nice to have proof of these good meetings. Grab a business card. This is a wonderful practice to get into. Just putting it in your folder and making sure you note it on reporting stuff later, and say thank you. Thank you for their time. Thank you for getting them on their very busy calendars. You can acknowledge how busy the season is, because it is busy for everyone. So yes, make sure to thank the staff and the legislators if they're there for their time with you and getting the meeting set up, because it's an endeavor. The now what? After the meeting, make a follow-up plan. I would recommend sending an email if you have that contact with you. Send a thank you email, thanking them for their time, remind them who you are, who you came with Alzheimer's Association, mention your district. But yeah, a thank you email goes a really long way, and it makes you look really good as a constituent, and it makes the Alzheimer's Association look really good. And post on social media. If you have a photo, tag them and say thank you for their time publicly. It makes everybody feel good to be publicly thanked. So that is the follow-up. And these are our hashtags for social media. We're doing EndAlls, like always, and Mo Memory Day 2025. And you can follow All's Impact on all socials for any updates. And this is where we get to the fun stuff. We do have a new AIM site. If you have not visited the new AIM portal, I will make sure you have the link. But it does look different than it used to. It functions basically the same, but it just looks a little bit different. That's the login page. You will have to create a new account if you have not seen the new AIM portal. It's not the same website as it was before, and you will not have the same account. So please do get in there, create your account. We will make sure everything is connected on the back end, but get in there. And then after the event, we ask you guys to report your actions. So that is you will log in, go to your homepage, and then click on action reports and click report a state action. And then we should have all of the information for you to plug into the member information, action type, additional details, and advocate participation. So that's where you can copy and paste information on the legislator. You can give information about yourself. You can copy and paste text from any social posts that you have made. And this is really important because of the data collection that we are doing on our end. It's really hard to keep track of individual meetings, and AIM is the best way for us across the nation to monitor what advocates are doing, what priorities have had actions and which have not, and to keep track of the progress that has been made with these actions. So if you have any questions about the actual process of reporting a state action, I am more than happy to get on a phone call or a Zoom or a Google Meet and walk you through it. It's new, or it looks new. It should function the same as it used to, but it looks new. So if you have any concerns, please reach out. And there will also be paper report forms as well on the day of. So if you have any questions about action reporting, either virtually or on paper, please let me know. But the data that we gather from all of this is vital to our planning for the entire rest of the year. And if you have questions about why I am so jazzed about why it's important, I can give you more information about that as well. But yeah, this is super important for us. And if you have questions, please be in touch. Beyond the event, okie dokie. Catherine, I'm ready for the next slide. We are making our impact last. Catherine, was this your slide or mine?
I can talk about it. So after Memory Day, we would love to see you, everyone here, continue to be involved with our advocacy. We do advocacy on both federally and at the state. And so Memory Day is a really good example of what it is like to be an advocate. We have lots of different ways to be involved. It's if you're not able to come to Jefferson City or speak to legislators or your federal elected officials, we have many other ways to get involved. And so if you are interested in learning more about how to continue your advocacy, because your voice as a constituent is incredibly powerful and makes such an impact on these officials, please reach out and let us know, or you can go to the AIM website with more volunteering information. But also on the day of, you will be getting these flyers in all of your folders. That gives a little bit more information about it, what it means to be an advocate. And so also you can follow along with us on social media. So we are constantly posting on ALZ Impact on Twitter, or I guess it's X now. And if you are interested in continuing to follow any of our legislation or just keeping up with the session and what's going on, so house.mo.gov or senate.mo.gov are the best ways to do so. They are kept up to date with all of the latest session, committee hearings, bill information. They have live streams. It's a great way to kind of find profiles on your legislators, see what districts you're in. So any and all information can be found on one of those two websites.
Advocacy.
I'll send it back to
I can here. Advocacy is my area. It is important for the community of Alzheimer's caregivers and people living with Alzheimer's, but it's also important for our legislators. So the most important things to keep in mind is the fact that you are an expert on your story. The reason why our stories are so valuable is because these legislators don't know what it's like to live and care and be around people living with Alzheimer's and dementia. You guys know. That is the most important information that we have as the Alzheimer's Impact Movement, is the story that life experience that you guys bring to these events. So the safest phrase that you can use when you're not sure about something, or you're not sure anything that you're not sure about, just say, I'm not sure about that. I can connect you with Catherine Rail, who runs policy efforts, and she can get you back. And she can respond to anything that needs to be responded to. But just know that your story is the important part. The policy priorities and the specifics of bill numbers and semantics on legislation, we will figure that out. The important part is that you guys are able to share your stories and make a connection with your legislators. Be patient. Sometimes meetings don't go the way we expect them to. Sometimes Memory Day doesn't go the way we expect it to. And just try to stay as positive as you can. Stay in touch with us if you have concerns. And just know that you are making an impact. Our advocacy efforts, both state and federally, have made huge advances in the Alzheimer's and dementia community, and you make a difference. So thank you for all of your effort and time and your life experience and being willing to bring it to Jeff City. It is the most meaningful thing you can do. Thank you very much.